G'day guys, welcome to Teach Together Try. Our learning intention today is to recognise equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages. To recognise the equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages that exist. That means, if a fraction equals this decimal or a decimal equals this percentage, we're gonna work out which ones really have the same value. And here's our success criteria. A bit like this, 1/2 equals 0.5, which equals 50%. 1/4 equals 0.25, which equals 25%. 1/10 equals 0.1, which equals 10%. You can see this fraction equals this decimal, which equals this percentages. And that's why we call them equivalent. And that's what we're going to look at today. Okay, let's go. Okay, here we are guys, we're in the teach phase. We're not doing conversions. I'm not showing you how to convert between, but I am teaching you the common ones and how to recognise them. Let's look at some now. Okay, let's start with the most basic, which is probably 1/2. So look, I've got 1/2 of a whole here, 1/2 of the pie coloured in, which as a fraction equals 1/2, which as a decimal equals 0.5, and which as a percentage equals 50%. And I might write those down. And here you go again. Here's your pizza pie, 1/2's coloured in. That's the same as saying 1/2, which is the same as saying 0.5, because 0.5 is half of 1, isn't it? Which is the same as saying 50%, because just briefly, 50% is like saying 50 over 100. These are what we call equivalent. They all have the same value. If I'm saying I want half of the pizza, or I want 50% of the pizza, or I want 0.5 of the pizza, it means the same thing. That's a half. Let's look at another set of equivalences. Here's another very common one that you should get to know. We're looking at a quarter, and of course here's a quarter of the pizza pie here. Here is a quarter as a fraction. Here is a quarter as a decimal. Now that's 0.25, which is basically 1/4 of 1, which is why it's a quarter. And here is 25%, which again is like saying 25 over 100, which if you simplify is just going to equal a quarter. And all of these, and I'm not really teaching you to convert today, so I'm not going to get stuck on that. All of these I want you to recognise as equivalent. I want you to know that 1/4 as a decimal equals 0.25, and as a percentage equals 25%. And you can probably see some relationships here beginning to form. And here we are. Guys, here's another very common one. You can see I've got my pizza pie here, and I have coloured in 1/10 of it. And I guess as a fraction, that's going to look like 1/10, isn't it? 1/10 as a decimal equals, well, 0.10. Often with decimals, if it's just a 0, we'll drop that last 0. So as a decimal, you could more accurately probably say 0.1. And 1/10 equals 0.1, which equals, as a percentage, 10%. And remember, that's because 10% is like saying 10 over 100. And if you simplify that, that goes down to 1 over 10, which is just the same as our fraction here. And as a decimal value, 0.1 is saying the same as saying 0.1, which is, well, this is our tenths column, isn't it, there? So that's 1/10. So just a bit of quick maths for you there. But as I said, I'm not really teaching you how to convert today. I want you to recognise which fractions, decimals and percentages are equivalent. I want you to know that 1/10 is the same as 0.1, and it is the same as 10%. Okay, here we are again. Hey guys, let's build on one that we learned about before. Remember we learned about a quarter, and of course a quarter, I guess, equaled a quarter, and it equaled 0.25, and it equals 25%. We're looking at 3/4 now. And 3/4 is, well, 3 of those quarters. So as a fraction, you can see my pizza pie, there's 3/4 there. As a fraction, 3/4 looks like this. As a decimal, 3/4 actually looks like 0.75. And remember, if that's a bit confusing, remember when we're talking about decimals, 1 is a whole, 1 is a whole. So when we're saying 0.75, that's like saying 3/4 of 1. It's like saying if you've got 75 cents, it's 3/4 of a dollar, okay? Percentage-wise, that's going to equal 75%. And again, that's just like saying 75 over 100. That's actually going to simplify down to 3/4. Okay, again, I'm not showing you how to convert. I am showing you the equivalent fractions, decimals, and percentages. I want you to learn them. I want you to know them. Okay, hey, remember when we did 1/10 just a moment ago? I guess I want to springboard off that and do 2/10. And so here's my pizza pie, and it's in 10 pieces, and we're going to eat 2 of them. And I guess as a fraction, that looks like 2/10, doesn't it? So remember, if 1/10, right, equals 0.1, then I hope it makes sense that 2/10 is going to equal 0.2. And I hope it makes sense if 1/10 is going to equal 10%. Then obviously 2/10 is going to equal 0.2, which equals 20%, which equals 20%. Because remember 20% is like saying 20 over 100, that's all percent means, which of course simplifies down to 2/10, okay? Hey, and that's going to be the same for 3/10, which is going to equal 0.3, which is going to equal 30%. That's going to be the same for 4/10, which is going to equal 0.4, which is the same as 40%. Guys, it's just going to keep on going. Hey, let's do one together in, I guess, the together phase. Can you do it with me? Here's 1/2 of a pizza pie. Can you make that a fraction? So what are you going to pop down there? Why don't you pop down what you think the answer is? I think it's probably a 1/2, isn't it? Now, what is a 1/2 as a decimal? Can you remember? Remember, it's going to be 1/2 of 1 because a whole would be 1, wouldn't it? So what's a 1/2 as a decimal? Well, exactly 1/2 of 1 is, did you get it? 0.5. Now, as a percentage, what's well, I guess, if it's a 1/2 as a fraction and 0.5 as a decimal, and you can probably work out the relationship. If it's a decimal and the 5's there, your percentage is going to start with 5, isn't it? It's not going to be 5%. What's 0.5 as a percentage? Well, again, it's a 1/2, and we should know that 50%. We should know that 50% means a 1/2, because again, of course, 50 over 100 is the same as 1 over 2. Isn't it? Okay. There's one we've done together. Let's do another one together. One more together. Okay, and here we are, guys. Well, like 3/4 of the pizza pie is coloured in. What is 3/4 as a fraction? See if you can pop that down. Okay, I hope you paused me and did that, and I hope you wrote down 3/4. Now, what is 3/4 as a decimal? Understanding that 1 is the whole, what is the 3/4 of 1? It's going to be 0 point something, 0.7. Can you have a go? Finish it off. 0.75. I guess that's a bit like saying, it's really like a bit like saying that 75 cents, sorry, is 3/4 of $1, isn't it? Okay. Hey, what is 0.75 going to be as a percent? Remembering that 0.75 is already out of, I guess, 100 cents, isn't it? So what's that going to be as a percentage? What's it going to be as a percentage? I wonder if you got that that's actually going to be 75%. It's going to be 75%. Hey, I'm going to give you some now to work through by yourself. Let's see if you can write down the correct equivalent fractions, decimals, and percentages. Okay? Okay, you're in the try phase now. Let's have a go. I'll start you off. This is obviously 1/2 of a pizza pie. This is 1/4, and that's 3/10. Okay, can you write the correct fractions, decimals, and percentage equivalences of these pizza pies? Okay, have a go. Pause me and have a go. Okay, I hope you paused me, and I hope this is sort of the answer that you got. Okay, and I'll read that out for you. 1/2 equals 0.5, or 0.50, same thing, which equals 50%. 1/4 equals 0.25, which equals 25%. And 3/10 equals 0.3, which equals 30%. I wonder how you went. Now, obviously there's plenty more, but I've just given you a sample here today. But there is one more I'd like to leave you with, just in case someone asks you a question like it. Let's say someone gave you the answer of a decimal as 1.29. Well, if they're doing that, they've been a bit of a naughty teacher because 1 is not actually a decimal, 0.29 is. But the way you'll deal with that is quite simple. If the decimal is 1.29, the percentage is going to be 129%. And the fraction's going to be, well, it could be two things. It could be 1 and 29 over 100, which is a mixed number, or you could have 129 over 100, which is the same thing. And I hope there you can actually see you've got another equivalent fraction, equivalent decimal, and equivalent percentage. And I guess as a pizza pie, that would look like one whole pizza pie with about 29 little pieces coloured in. Okay, one whole pizza pie with 29 other pieces of the whole coloured in. I hope this has been helpful. We've been looking at equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages, and we've been learning to recognise them. Okay, see you later.